Good evening, friends. You're most welcome to Think Eyes channel. Today we are going to discuss Ghatnachakra for environment and ecology, and our topic is ecology and ecosystem. Let us begin the topic. Basic questions are: ecology is the study of the relationship between organisms and environment. The word ecology originated from Greek word oikos, meaning house or environment. Ecology is the study of interaction among organisms and their environment. It also includes the study of organismal interaction with abiotic components of their environment. The word ecology means oikology was coined by German scientist Ernest Haeckel 1834 to 1919. Haeckel defined ecology as the study of relationship of an organism with their environment. Ecology in current age refers to a broader spectrum encompassing not only plants, animal species, and climate but also to human beings and its physical surroundings. Next question. The term ecosystem was proposed by Tansley. The term ecosystem was first used by A.G. Tansley in 1935, who defined an ecosystem as a particular category of physical systems consisting of organisms and inorganic components in a relatively stable equilibrium, open and of various sizes and kinds. An ecosystem is a community of living organisms, plants, animals, and microbes, along with the non living components of their environment like air, water, mineral, soil, etc., interacting as a system. These biotic and abiotic components are considered as linked together through nutrient cycles and energy flow, as ecosystems are defined by the network of interactions among organisms and between organisms and their environment. These can vary in size from as small as a drop in a pond to as large as an ocean. The earth itself is a large ecosystem. Which of the following is not true about the ecosystem? It is a closed system. And true things are: it represents all living organisms and the physical environment in any given space and time unit. It is a functional unit. It has its own productivity. An ecosystem is a community of living organisms in conjunction with the non living components of their environment, things like air, water, mineral, and soil, interacting as a system. Important features of ecology are: it is normally an open system with a continuous but variable influx and loss of materials and energy. An ecosystem is an overall integration of the whole mosaic of the interacting organisms and their environment. It is a basic functional unit with no limits of boundaries. With no limits of boundaries, it consists of biotic and abiotic components interacting with each other. Its functional unit is capable of energy transformation, circulation, and accumulation. Different types of ecosystems are present in different areas. Which of the following is not correct about the ecosystem? It is a closed system, and correct answers are: it comprises both biotic and abiotic components, it has its productivity, it is a natural resource system. Which four components constitute an ecosystem? Abiotic material, producer, consumers, and decomposers. There are four basic components of an ecosystem, which include abiotic material, producers, consumers, and decomposers or reducers, whereas producers, consumers, and decomposers are included in a broad component: biotic materials or biotic materials or biotic factors. Which one of the following is the best description of the term ecosystem? The a community of organisms together with the environment in which they live. Explanation: all the organisms and the abiotic components of the environment from the ecosystem of the place. Thus, ecology deals with the organisms and its environment. Which of the following is an artificial ecosystem? Field is artificial ecosystem. Field, garden are artificial ecosystem while forests, ponds and lakes are natural ecosystem. Which of the following is an artificial ecosystem? Rice field. An artificial ecosystem meets all the criteria of a natural ecosystem but is made and controlled by humans. Orchards, farmlands, gardens, and human made reservoirs are some examples of artificial ecosystems. Ecosystems can broadly be categorized as aquatic and terrestrial ecosystem. Grasslands, forests, and deserts are examples of terrestrial ecosystem, while lakes, rivers, and oceans fall under aquatic ecosystem. Notably, agriculture under human ecosystem has been instrumental to the existence of society and development. Next question. The number of organisms that can be supported by the environment in a given area is known as carrying capacity. The maximum population size that an ecosystem can support is called capacity. Carrying capacity is the number of organisms that an ecosystem can sustainably support. Which one of the following terms describe not only the physical space occupied by an organism but also its functional role in the community of organisms? Ecological niche. Ecological niche characterizes the position of a species within an ecosystem, comprising species habitat requirements as well as its functional role. The actual location or place where an organism lives is called habitat. The location or place where an organism lives is called a habitat. The organism depends for their food, water, air, shelter and other needs on their habitat. A biome is a plant and animal community that covers a large geographical area. Some of the major biomes of the world are forest, grassland, desert and tundra biomes. Which one of the following ecosystem covers the largest area of the Earth's surface? Marine ecosystem. There are mainly two kinds of ecosystem, aquatic and terrestrial. Marine ecosystem are the biggest ecosystem which cover around 71% of the Earth's surface and contain 97% of our planet's water. Which one of the following is the largest ecosystem of the world? Ocean. Aquatic ecosystem refers to living and non-living parts of a water body and the interaction that takes place among them. Aquatic ecosystem can be categorized in the marine ecosystem and freshwater ecosystem. Marine ecosystem covers approximately 71% of the Earth's surface and contains approximately 97% of the planet's water. Which one of the following does not help to maintain ecological balance? Cutting forest. And which of the following does help to maintain ecological balance or do help to maintain ecological balance? Afforestation, rainwater management, biosphere reserves. Explanation: wildlife conservation and prevention of environmental pollution is helpful in maintaining ecological balance. Deforestation adds to the environmental imbalance. Which one of the following is one of the main causes of ecological imbalance in India? Deforestation. Deforestation is one of the main causes of ecological imbalance in India, while desertification, floods, and famines and rainfall variations are secondary causes. Which one of the following is an act that disturbs the ecological balance? Lumbering. It is lumbering which disturbs the ecological balance. The highest trophic level in an ecosystem is obtained by omnivores. There are four types of trophic levels in the food chain of the ecosystem. They are first trophic level producers, second trophic level primary consumers that are herbivorous, third trophic level secondary consumers that are carnivorous, fourth trophic level tertiary consumers that are omnivorous, and last one is decomposers feed on all the above trophic levels. Which one of the following is not a biotic component of an ecosystem? Air. Biotic components are the living things that shape an ecosystem. Biotic components usually include producers, example plants, consumers, example animals, humans, decomposers, example fungi and bacteria. The primary sources of energy in eco body is solar energy. Solar energy is the primary source of energy in the ecological body. It is the driving force of an ecosystem. Driving force of an ecosystem is solar energy. Concerning the food chain in ecosystem, which of the following kinds of an organisms are known as decomposers organisms? Fungi and bacteria. Decomposers are nature's recyclers as they break down the organic matter found in the dead bodies of plants and animals. The term organic matter refers to the matter that comes from living organisms. Decomposers are mainly the microorganisms such as bacteria and fungi in the form of yeast and molds that break down bodies of the dead organisms and release compounds that can be used by producers, जिसको हम खाद भी कहते हैं. Which one of the following are the primary consumers in an ecosystem? Select the correct answer from the given quotes below. Ants and deer, mainly herbivores in the food chain, are considered as primary consumers in the given option. Deer is herbivorous as it is a primary consumer. Ants fall under decomposers and primary consumers both. It eats plants and receives energy from cellulose. Tiger is the carnivorous and the fox is omnivorous. Significantly, primary consumers feed on primary producers, plants. In a food chain, man is primary as well as a secondary consumer. In food chain, there are trophic levels, example autotrophs, primary consumers, secondary consumers, and tertiary consumers. The primary consumers is the herbivores that feed on the plant. The secondary consumers is small carnivores feeding on primary consumers, and the tertiary consumers is larger carnivores. So in food chain, man is the primary as well as the secondary consumer who feeds on both plants, products and meat. 10% law is related with transfer of energy as food from one trophic level to another. The 10% law of transfer of energy from one trophic level to the next was introduced by Raymond Lindemann in 1942. According to this law, during the transfer of energy from organic food from one trophic level to the next, only about 10% of energy from organic matter is stored as flesh. The remaining is lost during transfer, broken down in respiration, or lost to complete digestion by higher trophic level. When organisms are consumed, 10% of energy in the food is fixed into flesh and is available for next trophic level, carnivorous or omnivorous. When a carnivore or an omnivore consumes that animal, only about 10% of energy is fixed in its flesh for the higher level. Thus, at every level of the food chain, first, second, third, and top level, the consumer converts only 10% of the accumulated energy into his body weight. In the marine environment, the main primary producers are phytoplanktons. Phytoplanktons, also known as microalgae, are similar to the terrestrial plants in that they contain chlorophyll and require sunlight to live and grow. Most phytoplanktons are buoyant and float in the upper part of the ocean where sunlight penetrates the water. Phytoplanktons also require inorganic nutrients such as nitrates, phosphates, and sulfur, which they convert into proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. Among the biotic components of the ecosystem, the producer system is green plants. Plants are self-feeding organisms that produce complex organic compounds such as carbohydrates, fats, and proteins, generally using energy from light photosynthesis. These are known as autotrophs and are fundamental to the food chain of all ecosystem. These are called primary producers. Trophic level 1 includes green plants. Each step or level of the food chain forms a trophic level. Trophic level 1 includes autotrophs or the producers, that is green plants, which fix up solar energy and make it available for heterotrophs or the consumers. The herbivorous primary consumer come at second, small carnivores at third, and tertiary consumer, large carnivores, form the fourth trophic level. What is true about the ecosystem? Producers are more than primary consumers. In a given ecosystem, there are generally more producers than primary consumers and more primary consumers than secondary consumers, and so on. Which one of the following pairs are correctly matched? C. Green plants ecosystem. All the pairs mentioned in the question are related to the ecosystem, but correctly matched is only C. An ecosystem is a community of living organisms in conjunction with the non-living components of their environment. Since plants are living organisms, hence they are related to the ecosystem. The correct order in the food chain of the various components of the terrestrial grass ecosystem is grass, grasshopper, frog, snake. Any substance consumed to provide nutritional support for an organism is called food. Plants are self-feeding and make for their own food, whereas animals depend on plants for food. Food chain depicts the flow of energy through different organisms in an ecosystem. Notably, this flow is unidirectional. The correct order of different components in above food chain is as follows: grass, that are producers, to grasshoppers, they are primary consumers, to frog, they are secondary consumers, and to snake, they are tertiary consumers. Energy flows from grass to snake like this. Which of the following constitute a food chain? Grass, goat, and human. Grass, goat, and human form a food chain. Grass autotrophs, goat herbivorous consumers, and humans omnivorous consumer. The pyramid of energy in any ecosystem is always upright. Pyramid of energy is always upright, can never be inverted, because when energy flows from a particular trophic level to the next trophic level, some energy is always lost as heat at each step. Each bar in the energy pyramid indicates the amount of energy present at each trophic level in a given time, or annually per capita per unit area, or annually per unit area. Biomass pyramid is reversed in which type of ecosystem? Pond. The pyramid of biomass is a graphical representation that depicts the extent of biomass per unit area within different trophic levels in an ecological system. In grasslands and forests, there is a gradual decrease in the biomass of organisms at successive levels from the producers to the top carnivores. Thus, pyramids are upright. However, in a pond, as the producers are small organisms, their biomass at least, and this value gradually shows an increase towards the apex of the pyramid, thus making the pyramid inverted in shape. An inverted pyramid of biomass can be found in which ecosystem? Marine ecosystem. An inverted pyramid of biomass can be found in marine ecosystem. The pyramid of biomass in sea is generally inverted because of biomass of fishes far exceeds that of phytoplankton. Which one of the following organisms is likely to show the highest concentration of DDT once it has been introduced into the ecosystem? Snake. DDT is a non-biodegradable biomagnifying pollutant which increases in concentration from producers, primary consumers, secondary consumers to tertiary consumers. In the question, only the snake represents the tertiary consumers, so the concentration of DDT will be highest in the snake. The amount of energy during the transfer from one trophic level to another in an ecosystem. that is decreases. Energy is the basic force responsible for all metabolic activities. The flow of energy from producer to top consumers is called energy flow, which is unidirectional. Energy flows through the trophic levels, that is, from producers to subsequent trophic levels. This energy always flows from lower producers to higher herbivore or carnivore, etc. trophic levels. There is a loss of some energy in the form of unusable heat at each trophic level. So the amount of energy during the transfer from one trophic level to another decreases in an ecosystem. Energy is the basic force responsible for all metabolic activities. The flow of energy from producer to top consumer is called energy flow, which is unidirectional. Energy flows through the trophic levels, that is, from producer to subsequent trophic levels. This energy always flows from lower, that is, producer, to higher, that is, herbivore, carnivore, trophic level. There is a loss of some energy in the form of unusable heat at each trophic level, so the amount of energy during the transfer from one trophic level to another decreases in an ecosystem. The amount of energy during transfer from one trophic level to another in an ecosystem decreases. Which one of the following trees is not eco-friendly? Eucalyptus and eco-friendly trees are baboon neem people. Eucalyptus consumes more groundwater than other trees. That is why it often called enemy of the environment. The water level goes down across the area of eucalyptus plantation. These plants are mostly found in Australia. Which one of the following trees is considered to be an environmental hazard? Eucalyptus. The example of lentic habitat in the freshwater community is ponds and swamps. Lentic water or lentic ecosystem refers to the static water habitats like ponds, lakes, swamps, and marshes. Lotic ecosystem refers to the dynamic water habitats like rivers. The transitional zone between two distinct communities is known as ecotone. Ecotone is a region of transition between two biological communities. Which of the following is the most stable ecosystem? Ocean. Oceans are the cradle of life on Earth, which harbor the highest level of biodiversity. No terrestrial ecosystem can match the biological richness of a coral reef, not only in some species but also in variety and originality of survival strategies. Most stable ecosystem is ocean. Which is the most stable ecosystem? Marine ocean. Which of the following is an example of anthropogenic biome? Cropland, freshwater, grassland, and rainforest are examples of natural biome, whereas cropland is an example of the anthropogenic biome. Consider the following statement. First, most of the world's coral reef are in trophic water or tropical water. More than one third of the world's coral reefs are located in the territories of Australia, Indonesia, and the Philippines. Coral reefs host far more number of animal phyla than those hosted by tropical rainforest. Which of the statements given above are correct? 1, 2, and 3 all are correct. Corals are invertebrate animals. Reefs are created by hard corals which secrete a skeleton that can turn into giant structures like Australia's Great Barrier Reef. Most of the world's coral reefs are located in tropical oceans near the equator. More than one third of the world's coral reef is located in the territories of Australia, Indonesia, and Philippines. Coral reefs are one of the most diverse ecosystems on planet. These tropical marine communities occupy less than 1% of the ocean floor but are inhabited by more than 25% of all known marine fish species. 32 to 32 of the 34 recognized animal phyla are found on coral reefs compared to 9 phyla in tropical rainforest. Which one of the following is the largest ecosystem of the earth? That is hydrosphere. The largest ecosystem of the earth is biosphere. The biosphere is the part of the earth where life can exist. It is highly integrated and interacting zone comprising of atmosphere, air, hydrosphere, water, and lithosphere, land. It is a narrow layer around the surface of the earth. The biosphere is absent at extremes of the north and south poles, the highest mountains and the deepest oceans. Biosphere consists atmosphere, hydrosphere, lithosphere. The cycling of element in an ecosystem is called what is called biogeochemical cycles. In earth science, a biogeochemical cycle is a pathway by which a chemical substance moves through both biotic and abiotic component of Earth. Biogeochemical cycle of nitrogen, phosphorus and carbon etc. are found in nature. In case of which one of the following biogeochemical cycles, the weathering of rocks is the main source of release of nutrient to entry the cycle. Phosphorus cycle. Phosphorus is a chemical element found on Earth in numerous compound forms such as the phosphate ion PO4 3 located in water, soil and sediments. Much of the phosphorus on Earth is tied up in rocks and sedimentary deposits from which it is released by weathering, leaching and mining. Some of it passes through freshwater and terrestrial ecosystem via plants, grazers, predators and parasites to be returned to those ecosystems by death and decay. Much of it, however, is deposited in the sea, in shallow sediments where it circulates readily, or in ocean deeps when it wells up only occasionally. Phosphorus is brought back to the land through fish harvest and through collection of the guano deposits by seabirds. The movement of nutrients elements through various compounds or components of an ecosystem is called biogeochemical cycle. Which one of the following is not related to ecological balance? Industrial management, water management, afforestation, and wildlife protection is associated with ecological balance, while industrial management is not associated with ecological balance. Let us repeat this question in case of which one of the following biogeochemical cycles, the weathering of rocks is the main source of release of nutrient to entry the cycle. Phosphorus cycle. Phosphorus is a chemical element found on Earth in numerous compound forms such as phosphate ion PO4 3 located in water, soil and sediments. Much of the phosphorus on Earth is tied up in rock and sedimentary deposits from which it is released by weathering, leaching and mining. Some of it passes through freshwater and terrestrial ecosystem via plants, grazer, predators and parasites to be returned to those ecosystems by death and decay. Much of it, however, is deposited in the sea, in shallow sediments where it circulates readily, or in ocean deeps where it wells up on only occasionally. Phosphorus is brought back to the land through fish harvest and through collection of guano deposits by seabirds. Ecology is permanent economy is the slogan of which movement? Chipko movement. Ecology is permanent economy is the slogan of Chipko movement. Narmada Bachao Andolan was against the construction of multimodal dam on the Narmada river. A Pico movement was started in Karnataka for environmental protection. Chipko movement is related to plant conservation. The Chipko movement was a forest conservation movement in India started in 1973. Gaura Devi gathered other women around her village in the Garhwal Himalayas and prevented loggers from felling trees by sticking to the trees. This act by illiterate tribal and village women to reclaim their traditional forest rights was a dramatic movement known as Chipko Andolan. a non-violent struggle that gave birth to modern Indian environmental movement. Consider the following statement relating to the ecosystem. The term ecosystem was first used by A.G. Tansley. Those organisms which produce their food themselves are termed as autotrophs. These two are true and other are false. 3 and 4 are false. Consumers consume their food through the process of photosynthesis. That is wrong. And decomposers convert inorganic matter into organic matter. It is wrong because decomposers convert organic matter into inorganic matter. The term ecosystem was first used by A.G. Tansley. Biotic components are the living things that shape an ecosystem. Autotrophic components are self-feeding organisms of the ecosystem. These produce their food themselves. Consumers are, consumers are organisms of an ecological food chain which receive energy by consuming other organisms. These organisms are formally referred to the heterotrophs. Organic matter is recycled in an ecosystem by decomposers. Decomposers are organisms such as bacteria and fungi that break down the organic matter of the dead bodies of plants and animals into inorganic material. Which one of the following is correct sequence of the ecosystem in order to decrease productivity? Mangroves, grassland, lakes and ocean. The correct sequence of the ecosystem in order to decreasing productivity is mangrove, grassland, lakes and ocean. Concerning food chains in ecosystem, consider the following statements. Only one is correct. A food chain illustrates the order in which a chain of organisms feeds upon each other. Rest are wrong. You can see this here. Explanation. Now, most obvious aspect of nature is that energy must pass from one living organism to another. When herbivorous animals feed on plants, energy is transferred from plants to animals. In an ecosystem, some of the animals feed on other living organisms while some feed on dead organic matter. The latter form of detritus food chain. Each chain usually has only 4 to 5 such links. Food chains are not found within the population of a species because this would mean a human being eating another human being. Human beings are single species. Which of the following statement is correct? The energy flow in the biosphere ecosystem is unidirectional. The flow of energy in ecosystem is unidirectional or one directional. The energy enters the plant from the sun through photosynthesis during the making of food. This energy is then passed on from one organism to another in a food chain. The energy given out by the organisms as heat is lost to the environment. It does not return to be used by the plants again. This makes the flow of energy in the ecosystem unidirectional. According to the first law of thermodynamics, energy can neither be created nor be destroyed in an isolated system. According to the second law, whenever energy transforms into a new form, there is evident decay in its intensity. Similarly, with increasing trophic levels, availability of energy decreases in the natural ecosystem. Thank you very much.